They go back 48 years.
Wow.
Delroy wanted to leave. He's getting burned out in New York. And Denzel said, you're too good. Don't leave. Things are going to turn around. The rest is kind of history. You know, we're doing self-tapes all the time. I need a lot of takes to really sink in. I'm like, oh my God, am I David Finchering myself? Is this going to be my life? Welcome. This is the Actor's Guide to the End of the World podcast, where we talk about acting in Hollywood in a way people understand. I'm Ikan Song, and this is
Rían, riddled with allergies. How are you?
Yep, it's not easy. Follow us wherever you find your podcast at Actors Guide Podcast. We're on all social media for fun clips during the week. You know what helps the podcast, Rían? I don't know if you know this, but sharing with a friend, the best way to help the podcast if you're curious. So,
all right, step one, get a friend.
Exactly. Easy as that, everyone.
Now a word from our sponsor for today's episode. Does your pet get the yips in auditions? Does your little friend literally shit the bed at callbacks?
Welcome to the Royal Academy for Dramatic Barks, where your puppies will be trained by acting legends Ellen Barkin,
Mark Ruffalo,
and Sir Patrick Stewart. Sign up today. All right, let's do this. So, word around town. We spoke about vertical shorts last week, vertical microdramas, however you want to call them. Short episodes, they're on your phone, they're all portrait mode or vertical, hence the name. So this just got announced. A LA microdrama studio just launches, officially SAG-AFTRA, based in LA, an official SAG-AFTRA signatory. And apparently they have a slate of fully completed original microdramas. And one of them features an Oscar-nominated actor. It's called Knockout Shorts. Their names are Matthew Coe, Chris Crema. One of them worked with A24 in the past and some studios. But, you know, long story short, you know, it's not Josh Safdie. I think this is kind of like the name of the game. If you get in early, they were on this train and producing these dramas and see an incredible opportunity here. And if you're an early adopter, you could get in there and then you can get a deadline article. We see this space as a new canvas, not a compromise. There you go.
Interesting.
We were just talking about it. Yeah, I kind of like that quote. We'll see what they do.
It's interesting, though. It's interesting that they even bring up compromise. You know what I mean? They're like, you know, it's almost self-defeating. We call this a new canvas. It's not a compromise. It's not a compromise. For anybody that said we were selling out, we're not. It's a new canvas.
Well, that's a true lesson in acting. It's all in it's all in how you say it. It's not exactly the words necessarily. Without a doubt, you would not be doing the PR press conference for them.
I'm just being honest, guys. I'm not a snitch. I'm not a snitch.
But you know, we were asking, are there going to be SAG-AFTRA vertical dramas, microdramas, and this one studio's on top of it. So apparently they have a full slate and they've been at it for a couple years. So I would say that's pretty early in the game.
If it helps people get health insurance and, you know, consistent work, great.
A little follow-up with this Marty Supreme, Kevin O'Leary actor discussion. I wish I brought this up last week. Kevin O'Leary, his stunt casting of Marty Supreme. He was, you know, obviously he's a, you know, multimillionaire on Shark Tank, and he plays this pivotal role in Marty Supreme as the antagonist. Timothée Chalamet was talking about an altercation, one of the background actors in a scene in Marty Supreme.
Oh.
There's a lot of non-actors on that set. And he admits it's thrilling, but also sometimes it takes multiple takes to get what you need out of them. So if he's getting in a guy's face and he's supposed to get the guy angry, he's working with the actor and trying to go there. So he's doing takes, and he's saying to Josh, he's like, hey, I'm not getting what we need out of this guy. He does another take, and the guy says to him, I was just in jail for 30 years. You really don't want to fuck with me. You don't want to see me angry. And it was that moment where Chalamet was like, dude, who the fuck do you have me on set with? Right?
30 years? That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long. That's older than Timothée Chalamet.
What did he do?
I think that's kind of like what I'm getting at. Josh Safdie is kind of known for this, and I realized this is a perfect example of how this is the kind of recipe he likes to create on set, where there's a lot of pivotal supporting characters that were not actors at all. This conversation goes beyond Kevin O'Leary. This is a role that could have went to a really great actor. This is part of his genius to create that adrenaline rush and you're like, oh my God, who is this guy? He's kind of interesting and kind of, there's a weird mix on his set. There's a lot of risk, there's a lot of reward, and that danger where that might happen on set. According to this story, that was a surprise to Timothée Chalamet.
It's interesting though, like the risk. Wouldn't you rather just see like really, really good actors where there isn't that risk? I don't know.
In the context of, say, a Josh Safdie movie, and then we can also talk about Anora. It's so relative and individual to the director. It's the director's choice. And so whatever their vision, however they're hosting their party, however they're crafting this story that they want to tell, 100% training is good. Actors should be trained. Sometimes I fear, and I can understand a director kind of likes the thrill of, can I get a performance out of a non-actor, out of just a human, just a normal person? And ultimately, it's a great reminder, regardless of what training and what style of acting you do, we're all trying to be normal people. We're all trying not to act. We're playing make-believe, and I think what I'm getting at is I still hope that all the training that we will do and we should do does not get in the way of being a human being. And it also goes back to, why do they say that don't act with kids or animals? It's because they always steal the scene. Like you heard.
Well,
this,
they're
right?
also very unpredictable. Yeah, they're
right. But I think the point is if you're watching an actor or an animal, I'm going to watch the animal, without a doubt. Wait, you don't feel the same way? I had a
So
cat
someone said,
on-
"Do you want to go?" If I said to you, "Do you want to go see a play?" Or I was like, "Do you want to go to a dog park?"
Oh, no. That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is if you're in a scene with an animal, I'm going to watch the animal because they're more captivating.
Oh.
I'm going to watch an animal because
I don't feel the same.
Oh, well, you know that's why they say that. That's why they say don't act with kids or animals.
Well, I don't think it's because they were going to upstage you. I think it's just because they're so unpredictable. And
No,
like
that's what the story is.
Are you sure?
We want to know your opinions. actorsguidepodcast@gmail.com. According to the myths, it is all of that. They say don't act with animals because they might upstage you, but also it's incredibly unpredictable. All those things are part of that reasoning. Let us know what you think, everyone, because
Interesting.
I agree. If I had a cat here on the Zoom or on our recording, bro, I'm looking at the cat. I'm looking at the cat. So if that human person cannot freeze on camera, I don't have a problem with Kevin O'Leary's casting. Also, to be fair, he's easily unlikable. So if anything, it kind of makes a perfect protagonist or antagonist because you're going into the movie with this preconceived notion that I kind of don't like this guy. So that actually is an advantage for the casting. But I think that's kind of like my point. It's not even about Kevin O'Leary. It's about Josh Safdie likes this recipe on set. And I think this background story is a great example.
You know, I understand what you're saying. We're trying to portray real people and characters, but I think that's the brilliance of a skilled actor is that they can take all of those things, they can have all of those, all of that texture and all that specificity and all of that nuance, and do it in a way that's repeatable and a way that's compelling and that's skilled. Whereas I think if you fire a real person in there, you might get the main points because they're just playing themselves or they're playing whatever.
That's a great point. It just so happens we're recording this the week of the Super Bowl. Professional actors on a certain level, you want to be in the big game. And I think it's very similar to how athletes look at sports. If you're working on a craft and you're working on a profession, we want to see the best in that game, in that craft. And I would agree, if you have the top football players, they want to see the top football players perform versus... it's just a different thing.
Bringing in some guy on the street because he might do something crazy or unpredictable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
He might.
That's fair. So a little inspiration here. We've talked a little bit about the nominees, but it didn't dawn on me. There's a handful of them that are actually, for lack of a better word, they're seasoned veterans. Stellan Skarsgård is 74. Delroy Lindo is 73. Amy Madigan is 75. And Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro are pretty young compared to them. So hats off to them. It's incredible, and I think it's part of the fun of... I saw this random story, and I had to fact check it, and I realized Delroy Lindo did a Q&A with Denzel Washington. And this is online. You can see this. Denzel does not do this, like, ever. It's a huge compliment. They go back 48 years. They studied together at the American Conservatory in SF. It's so heartwarming. I'm just going to paraphrase some of this. So according to Denzel, first of all, a loaf of wheat bread, jar of honey, jar of peanut butter was all you need to survive. Now, he learned that from Delroy Lindo. The second, going to class, Denzel thought he was pretty good. And then he saw Delroy act, and he goes, okay, there's levels to this game. I need to get better, and I need to get to work.
Can relate.
Delroy would do his scene and no notes. And then Denzel would get up there, and of course he had notes to work on. There was a purity, discipline, attention to detail, spirit. The way he described it was things bothered him. It was a bullshit detector. And I hear this a lot in really great actors. There's a bullshit filter of processing your character. What would I think in this moment? However you want to word that. If something doesn't jive, this line doesn't work, this performance doesn't work, it bugged the hell out of him. But that's part of the reason why it made him a great actor. One last thing. Delroy goes, and he credits this to Denzel. You know, they were hustling in New York. He's getting burned out. Delroy wanted to leave New York. And Denzel kind of gave him a heart-to-heart. And he basically said, and Denzel said, you're too good. Don't leave. Things are going to turn around. And the rest is kind of history. That moment just stuck out in Delroy Lindo's mind. And years later, this is where they are.
Wow.
Yeah, if you need to hear this, because I
do.
Exactly.
I think I do.
I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny, the bullshit detector thing. I know that feeling of like, you know, when you're forcing it, or you know, when you don't believe it yourself, or you know, when you're kind of playing at something. Like, I know that feeling, because you know the opposite feeling too, when you're not doing any of that and you're just in it and you're thinking your character's thoughts and you're just kind of... I had one audition last year where it just felt different to a lot of it. It just felt very intuitive, and it was such a great feeling. Like, I didn't have to work so hard. You know what I mean? It just kind of came through me almost. It was an incredible feeling. It's the kind of the thing that addicted me to acting in the first place. But also, I just wanted to say, Delroy Lindo, speaking of our show, Patrick Massett, one of our earlier guests on the podcast, had Delroy Lindo in one of his shows, The Chicago Code, and was a great show. And Delroy Lindo played the alderman in it.
Wow. That's awesome.
Go back and listen to our 2 episodes of Patrick Massett.
I feel like I'm trying to figure out my flow as well. And that's kind of like what I'm getting at, where we want to do all the training. And, you know, great actors like Denzel are going to be the first one to say, it's like, well, you know, good actors, they most likely have trained a lot. With all the training, I want to be able to let go. I want to be able to let go of the choices. I want to be able to get to that place. And, you know, we're doing self-tapes all the time. I'm literally encountering all this stuff with this week. Unfortunately, I need a lot of takes to really sink in and let go of it. And I'm kind of like, this is the first time I'm ever thinking of this. I'm like, oh my God, am I David Finchering myself? Do I actually need 75 David Fincher takes to fully let go? And I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be my life? So I'm wrapping my head around that. It becomes easier. You get better with practice, but I'm just trying not to beat my head against the wall, constantly working on the process and being able to let go as a, trained actor.
So, okay. So when you get to the take that you feel good about, what's the difference? What do you feel? What do you feel the difference is? Or how do you feel in the take that you feel good about? Okay, so is it just in the, sorry, just to clarify, is it just in the, when you go back and watch them all, and you're like, okay, this was take number 32 that I really like? Or do you know right away when you do it, that's the one? Oh,
I see what you're saying. I think it's a little dangerous to have such polar opposites or polar ends of the spectrum. What I would say is usually it's towards the end. Usually the last handful of takes, I'm like, okay, this last one feels great. And I'm not going to lie, it always feels great. And to be honest, it's probably the one before that was actually really good. I literally just happened like this week. So every time I get done the last take, I was like, that's it. I don't even have to watch it. And then I look back, I was like, it's pretty good. And then surprisingly, it's the one before that. So whatever that director in your head, to be honest, it's kind of wrong. Also, if I did 10 takes and I know that the last 2 are getting there, I don't even bother watching all the 10 takes unless I'm grasping at something. So it's kind of like that. As far as that, it's, I don't want to see the acting. I think that's ultimately the thing. I don't want to see the acting. I think I can't watch myself if I feel like it's acting, and I feel like that's a good measure. But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to judge your own acting. I mean, it's nearly impossible. That's part of the reason why we have directors on set. And yet here we are as actors, producing our own self-tapes, and we're also our own director in a way.
Yeah, you're right. And I empathize with that because I find it so hard to pick takes sometimes. I think I'm too close to it, and I'm not good at being objective, and I'm married to things in that take or tape that like aren't that important necessarily. Maybe I like a moment further down the line when really it's the first 10 seconds, 5 seconds that are more important. Because if I don't nail that, no one's going to get to the last,
100%.
The last 30 seconds. So
yeah, it's a great point.
But I know what you mean. And it's a tricky one because you don't get the time on a job to do that. So it's the challenge is to be like, you're not going to get 12 takes on a show. You know what I mean? You might get 2, you might get 3, maybe.
Oh, so that's a good point. I still think, and I'm wrapping my head around it. You said, Mickey O'Sullivan. We had a Mickey O'Sullivan, and we talked about his experiences on Chicago PD.
He's been on PD 3 times as 3 different characters, and they kept getting bigger roles every time.
That's a great point. They don't mind if he was already on the show. And then also he did Mayor of Kingstown. He basically said it's so much easier on set. You have top in their craft, production design, props, set design. This is not a flex. I get on set, and I've been fortunate on really good productions. It's so easy. I'm still wrapping my head around how much work goes into a great self-tape to show that, to tell a great story, to obviously be a great actor, and how many self-tapes they are watching. The competition is so fierce. I almost put being on set as a completely different category. I'm absolutely not worried about being on set, in all honesty, but I think it's a different ballgame.
I agree. Being on set than it is to doing a tape for a number of reasons. I think one, there's a confidence in when you're on set, you've already got the job. They know, that they like what you did, because you got the job, but you've also had more time with it. Even if it's a few days, you've still had more time. You've gotten the yes. You've gone in probably for a fitting. You know what's next.
Sending self-tapes, we get no direction and very little feedback.
Which is why, we've been talking about this a bit more lately. And I know people that do this every time. Take a Zoom if you can get a Zoom. If you can get a live Zoom, take the Zoom if you can. Yeah. So I know actors that will take a Zoom every time if they have the opportunity to. When they do the Zoom, if they get notes in the Zoom, they'll immediately retape afterwards with those notes and send the tape in so that the producers have their tape and not just the recording of their Zoom or the whatever,
That's a great point. I almost forgot about that. That's a great idea. And I will add that that's something that they fought, the actors, us actors in SAG-AFTRA, we fought and got that in our contract that a SAG-AFTRA studio project needs to offer a Zoom option. So it's across the board for SAG-AFTRA TV shows with the studios. So that's great. And I will add right now for most SAG-AFTRA projects, we have 48 hours, which is a blessing, an absolute blessing. And I learned this, I believe it was from Carolina in class. She says she will tape something and she will sit on it for a day, if not more, and see what you think about as it marinates. And the next day, do you think differently about the character, all that stuff? And what a luxury it is to have that time to be able to think about the character. Maybe something occurs to you, maybe something doesn't jive, and not be forced to send it immediately. So I definitely have been incorporating that.
Absolutely. Another thing I try not to do anymore is after I send in a tape, don't go back and look at it. You know what I mean? Because I'm only going to drive myself crazy.
Oh, absolutely not.
Once it's been sent, let it go, because you will only drive yourself nuts going back and going, oh shit, that wasn't the right take, because it's done. I do have sympathy for that, because I tend towards that too. I do too many takes, I will say. Or I'm trying to stop that. I'm trying to not do as many and not be as precious about it, because what happens is it's kind of like a curve where, you know, the first 3 maybe aren't great, 4 or 5, then maybe I get close to where I want to be, and then it's sort of then once I get a good take, I fall into the trap of trying to repeat those moments.
Oh, 100%,
and then it just
100%.
kind of, the quality diminishes. So, and then you're trying to force it and muscle it and trying to execute things. I think that can kill your listening, and it can kill, you know, the real thoughts that made the other one great.
I think it's an ongoing process of just figuring out how we work, and then also not going insane.
I think some of it for me is not taping until I've done an amount of work on it that I feel good about. And this is just how my brain works with everything. Once an idea enters my head, or something I have to do, I'm kind of anxious until I get it done. But I feel like I can't relax until I get it done. So I have to just get it done.
That's a great point. If anyone wanted to get an insight on what it's like in our lives, I can't tell you how much pain and agony what you just described is our life. It doesn't matter the level of the project. It's kind of like this filter that we're talking about, where you can't turn it off. If you know that you have to do a scene or think about an audition or whatever, even it could be a scene for class, those lines are forever living in my head. It is taking up all my time and energy. What aneurysm? Like literally, this is my week where I am doing all these things that I care about, writing, doing things that are creative. And in the back of my head are lines and scenes of an audition that we have to do. We don't have to be famous to be living this pain. This is kind of like what they said, where it's like a full-time job, because these lines are forever in my head.
It is a full-time job, and that's the thing, is like the difference with acting and a lot of jobs is like we don't get paid for the vast majority of work that we do. Like all of that stuff is part of the job, and it is work. And but you know, it's interesting that, you know, that you feel like that too, because and my brain doesn't distinguish between, you know, a self-tape for a show or a voiceover audition. Once it's there, I still have to get it done. Stress over them until they're done. So I think that sometimes that's detrimental to the quality of a self-tape initially, until I find where I'm going, because I don't always sit back and take the time. And that's where I think things like right brain activities come in, and like to take the time to get into the headspace where I can properly prepare, and then I'm not maybe taking 8 takes to get to where I'm like, oh God, it's this, you know?
That's right. That's exactly what I think. That's exactly it. We have so many left brain activities, setting up your studio, setting up your cameras, all these things, your to-do list, your grocery list, and all
getting
that stuff.
a reader,
and yet,
you know, organizing someone to read with.
And then also allowing yourself into that right brain to creatively play. And I feel like that's part of our lives now that we're recording at home and essentially producing a self-tape.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that has changed for me over time is that I do really enjoy self-tapes. Like I enjoy getting them, and I kind of get excited for them. I did not always, I can promise you that.
That reminds me, and I agree, it's easy to lose sight of how a blessing, even though it's a pain in the butt, how much a blessing is for a self-tape. That reminds me of Philip Seymour Hoffman's advice to actors. You might have heard this already. So Philip Seymour Hoffman is giving his best advice to actors, especially when you're starting out. Anytime you get an opportunity to act, take it. Don't be picky. Anytime that you get to act in a room where they paid rent, obviously that was a day and age where they went in the room. Regardless if you hate the project, you don't even think that you're right for it, you're never going to get it. Act the best you can, because you get a free opportunity to work on your craft. And if you act the best that you can, they're going to remember it. And that's the best advice he's been ever given. So I want to get to this because this is a good segue. Have you heard of the new show Wonder Man yet?
No.
Okay. Talking about the craft of acting, and a lot of actor inspiration here. Wonder Man is a Disney Plus show that released, I believe, a couple weeks ago. Whether you're into Marvel or not, it's basically about two up-and-coming actors. One of them is Ben Kingsley, and another actor, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. So it's a two-hander. It's essentially a buddy comedy. Honestly, if you're an actor or if you're in entertainment, you're going to love the show. It's so much a show for actors. It just happens to be kind of about superhero stuff. You're going to watch Ben Kingsley, who's always genius, kind of be a buddy actor to this other guy, Yahya, who plays Wonder Man, and he's an up-and-coming actor. I did get to see the first two episodes, and I even got to see them talk a little bit about it, but I just saw this video, and it really hit me just at the time. He basically said the huge turning point for him as an actor was he stopped saying he was aspiring. His actor teacher, back when he was in, I believe, drama school, he basically said, "You're good, but you're back-footed. Why?" And he's like, "I'm watching, I'm learning. What do you mean? I'm just studying." He goes, "Yeah, if you want to do this, you have to consider yourself an actor and own it. You don't show up just to be a student. If you're an actor, you have to do the work of an actor." And that's when he made the switch. And Yahya goes, that changed everything. He stopped spectating. He took the responsibility, whether employed or not. He took care of his instrument. He was reading plays. He was in conversation about acting with other actors. And so that was a pivotal moment for him. And you know, he's been doing it for a while. By the way, he's an incredible actor. I don't remember seeing him until Wonder Man. So just imagine, like, he was nominated. I think he won an Emmy. He was nominated for a Tony. So he's not just like, he's not new.
He's not a newbie. Yeah.
And so he's been doing this craft for a long time, and now he's Wonder Man. And actually, a nice little fun tidbit. He used to be an architect. He was literally a laid off architect, and then that's got him into grad school as an actor.
Wow.
So, you know, you could hear he's a bright, thoughtful guy. And one last little thing as we geek over acting together, Ben Kingsley, and I'll throw some links in the description. Ben Kingsley, it's one thing to watch Ben Kingsley act, and also this Marvel character is so, you can't not love him. To watch Ben Kingsley talk about acting, it was so brilliant. They're playing aspiring actors, and they're great actors, but also it's like they're not playing bad actors, but they're just playing aspiring actors, right?
Yeah.
And they're also playing a buddy comedy of they're getting to know each other. And Ben Kingsley goes, with all the respect in the world for Yahya, I would venture to say that Yahya and we don't have really active social lives. This is all we do, is just the craft. And then Yahya, of course, jokes around. He's like, yeah, Yahya agreed. He's like, no, we don't have social lives. We did not hang out.
That's interesting.
We were discovering each other, and we were discovering each other as people, but also as characters. We were discovering each other between takes, and we were discovering each other on camera. And that's the genius.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that was I was there. I was there at the Q&A where he said that. And so the genius, who's also a great director, Daniel Destin Critton, I believe is his name. Great writer. It was all on the page. It was great actors. And then you have great director who got it on camera. Anyway, You see this chemistry between these two? I'm telling you, as an actor or even someone in entertainment, you're going to love the show.
Well, isn't that a great advertisement for great acting?
There you go.
As opposed to real people. just to bring that back.
So we got a little time here. I'm wrapping my head around what it means. And why don't you go first and spitball a little bit? What do you think it takes to be an actor in 2026? And I will preface this, but I think you and I can kind of agree. The aspiration is to be on a certain scale of network TV, streaming TV, a film that's made by a studio. There are many people, and this is not a judgment, who get their rocks off doing theater in whatever part of the country or whatever world, whatever country, whether it's community theater. Like, a lot of people can do a lot of acting. We're just talking about acting on a certain scale, and then hope that things are shooting anywhere in this world, anywhere in our country, anywhere in California. Just putting a lens on that, what does it take to be an actor in that world in 2026?
That's interesting. You know, funnily enough, I was actually thinking about this as I was doing my morning pages. I'm doing the actors, the artist's way, in case you haven't told anyone that. Like, I literally haven't shut up about it. In my morning pages this morning, I literally had the thought occur to me, like, did I miss the boat in terms of, not in terms of me or my age, but did I just miss the golden era? You know what I mean? Did I miss I wasn't in LA this time until 2018. Did I miss the kind of the period before that where there was like the boom of like streaming and people were auditioning a lot, and this was pre-pandemic, and a part of me just wished that I had been where I'm at now 15 years ago, where, you know, being in class consistently, gotten that footing, gotten that start. And this is honestly to young actors as much as anything. Like, if you can get around the right people, get in the right classes, really work at it, you're going to give yourself such a better chance. But just as to where the industry is right now, it's tricky. I saw an Instagram reel of an actor who posted, who's worked quite a bit. I looked up his IMDb after, and he posted all the jobs he's had, you know, in between acting and simultaneously while acting. And it was a lot of different jobs. And this guy has done, you know, I think he was in a big movie. He'd done like 7 episodes of a TV show, and then a bunch of other 1 episode, 2 episode. And he was listing, you know, and his point was, no matter, you know, where you get to, the grind remains. Now, I think it probably goes back to the same point that we always get to on this. If you want to be creatively fulfilled, you kind of have to make your own stuff, even with everything else that's going on in some way for yourself, because it gives you that agency that can feel hard to get. Because I'm pretty positive and pretty optimistic, as you know, and I feel pretty good about, you know, my progression and everything else. But there are times when I'm like, oh, it just feels futile. You're like, is it, you know, I've caught myself waiting a little bit too often recently, where I'm waiting for something to happen, and that's such a powerless place to be. So, you know, in general, I think the things I do around acting to kind of feed into it, like things like the artist's way and being in class and everything else, and being around people who are making things and being inspired by people's wins, is very important, because without that, I think it would feel very different. There's nothing I can do about the state of the industry. There's nothing I can do about the way things are going. So I have to find a way to be fulfilled within that framework. And most of the time I do a really good job of that, I think. And I'm pretty positive and optimistic. And then sometimes it just gets to me, and I kind of have these moments of like, where is this going? You know, because I can't see the path always, because of course I can't. So, you know, it's I think the mental side of it is almost that's the whole game for me. You know, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, if I'm connected, if I'm being creative in every possible way that I can, if I'm filling my life with other things as well, and with people and things that sort of fill me up creatively and spiritually, and, you know, friendship wise and everything else, I'm in a pretty good place with acting. And then there are just times when, like everybody, I just have doubts, you know, and I'm like, or I just get a bit disheartened. But I think for the most part, I'm okay with it. It's certainly a tougher landscape, like you said, in 2026, I think, than it has been in previous times. But I can't do anything about that. So I have to, and I really do enjoy it. So I have to find a way to stay in it in the best possible way.
Yeah. To go back to your thing about community, a body language expert, this idea of how important it is to find like-minded people and people that you're working with. There's studies that show that being within 25 feet of a high performer, physically, obviously, within 25 feet of a high performer, you can improve your own performance by 15%. Literally, just by being around really good people, that improves your performance.
That's why I followed Michael Jordan around for years until he got a restraining order.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, here we are in a world where everyone's on Zoom and we're doing self-tapes in a vacuum. And so it's important where your community is, what city you live, and what can drive you to be creative. I think there was a drastic shift in, say, the past 5 years. Pandemic, you have an explosion of social media, and then you also have the explosion of self-tapes. And then you also have work leaving a centralized area like Los Angeles. So this is a storm of our industry changing. And I think ultimately it's a question all of us have to answer ourselves as actors. We've had Brian Stepanek on, who's an incredibly accomplished actor, teacher. He said that he believes that the majority of a work of an actor right now might be social media, whether you call it marketing, branding, all that stuff. So back to this whole thing about what does it take to feel like you're an actor? Obviously, I create a lot of stuff online. I don't have enough time in the day. There's a lot of things that I am actively doing. And I came to the realization with, obviously we take a lot of time in self-tapes. We also go to class. A lot of people think, hey, I'm in class and that's enough for me to call an actor. Hey, whatever floats your boat. I think it's just one of those things. I know some actors who say, I just want to work. They're like, wait, what do you mean work? I just want to make money. There's no difference, like how you want to get paid. You literally just want to get paid. These lines are so different for everyone else. I will say for myself, being in class, creating a bunch of stuff, and also realizing the value of social media and all that stuff, it's not enough for me. And I'm not going to get into it now, but I'm excited about getting into a project that I'm going to create, or I'm going to be acting in it. And I realize there's something that I was holding off on or felt like I was backfooting. Yahya was talking about reading plays, talking about acting. Obviously, he was probably in school and he was probably rehearsing a lot. I know a lot of people do that. To be honest, I probably do most of that. And for me right now, I'm having the realization that's probably not enough. This question I have to answer for myself, and I'm at a crossroads. I'm wrapping as much as I feel like I'm doing, and I'm reassessing how I put time into certain things and what makes me feel like fully an actor.
No, that's great. I think that's important to talk about. My hidden gem for this week is just something that I realize I use a lot, but I haven't talked about yet, I don't think, is peppermint oil capsules. Peppermint oil capsules. I get migraines, and I have done since I was a teenager, but what accompanies migraines often is nausea. Like sort of a 3-day thing. But I find that peppermint oil capsules really help with nausea. So if you're nauseous for any number of reasons, give them a shot. I find them really, really helpful. So that's my little hidden gem.
Wow. That's a really cool a little tidbit.
Just one of the things that comes with them.
When I went to Egypt, we had peppermint capsules to ease the stomach just in case of food poisoning, getting used to the food. It was a lifesaver. So on this note of a little inspiration, this is kind of a twofer. I just happened to start using Calm. I was gifted a Calm subscription, and I'm not going to lie, it's part of my routine. I really like it. They have a bunch of little series. There was this one quote that I want to throw out there, and it kind of ties into what all the stuff that we've been talking about. Papaji, I did not know who Papaji was, but they're a 20th century Indian sage. This is a quote. If you're acting like a sheep, don't blame the shepherd. that alone is already good for me. It's basically, if you heard of don't hate the player, hate the game, right? That's the American version of that.
Don't hate the sheep, hate the shepherd.
This is so much deeper. If you're acting like a sheep, don't blame the shepherd. And it continues. You cannot herd lions. Wake up and roar, and you are free. Now, obviously, that goes a whole nother level, whether that works for you or not. Once you tell someone to wake up and roar. But that being said, that's the quote in the context. If you're acting like a sheep, don't blame the shepherd. You cannot herd lions. Wake up and roar, and you are free. Anyway,
listen.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever works, man. Yeah. Calm is a good app. I used to use Calm.
Nice.
There
you go.
Nice. All right.
That's our episode, everyone. Stay safe out there, and hope you enjoyed the episode.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.